The sun blazed mercilessly over the town square of Dry Creek, painting the dust in gold and sorrow. The auction block stood like a cruel reminder of how far humanity could fall, where pride, freedom, and dignity were traded for coins. The crowd gathered, whispering, bargaining, watching, as the next soul was brought forward, a young woman with torn lace at her sleeves, her fair hair dulled by travel and tears. Her name wasn't even spoken by the auctioneer. She was listed as Lot 23. Her eyes, once bright with hope, looked hollow and lost, as if she had walked through storms and fire to reach this terrible moment. She swayed slightly under the weight of the heat, her wrists bound loosely with rope. The auctioneer's voice rang out, cold, rehearsed, and cruel. "Starting bid at $50, he called. The murmurs rose, men shifting their hats, whispering numbers that weighed heavy on her heart. She tried to stand tall, tried to remember who she was before the world fell apart, but the edges of her vision dimmed, the sound of the crowd faded, and her knees gave way. Gasps broke the hum of greed. The auctioneer stumbled back as she crumpled, her body folding like a wilted flower. Before she hit the hard wooden planks, strong arms caught her, arms steady and warm, belonging to a man in a wide-brimmed hat and dusted boots. His shirt was worn from ranch work, his eyes sharp and steady as a hawk's. The crowd murmured louder now. The man lifted her gently, his voice cutting through the clamor like thunder. "She's not for sale," he said, his tone calm but final, a warning wrapped in compassion. The auctioneer blinked, trying to recover his authority. "Now hold on there, cowboy," he stammered. "This here's legal business. Step aside, and no one gets hurt." But the cowboy didn't move. He brushed the dust off her face with a tenderness that didn't belong in such a place. "You've sold enough souls today," he said low and steady. "This one's under my protection now." The crowd shifted uneasily. No one dared speak against him. There was something about his stance, shoulders squared, jaw tight, that spoke of a man who had seen too much wrong and was done watching it happen. He carried her away from the platform, each step defying the men who measured worth in dollars. Behind him, the auctioneer sputtered threats, but none dared stop him. The woman's breath was shallow as he carried her across the street to the watering trough beside the old saloon. He laid her down gently, splashing cool water on her face. She stirred, her lashes fluttering, and when her eyes opened, they met his. "Why?" she whispered, her voice frail as wind through grass. "Why would you help me?" He looked at her for a long moment, his thumb brushing a streak of dirt from her cheek. "Because I've seen too many good folks treated like property," he said softly. "And I made a promise to my mother long ago, never to let that happen where I stand." She blinked, tears welling, then falling silently. "But they'll come after you," she murmured. "They'll call you a thief." He gave a small, wry smile. "They can call me what they want. I'd rather be hunted for doing right than praised for standing still." As the day stretched on, whispers spread across town about the cowboy who defied the auction, the girl he carried, and the words that echoed through the dust, "She's not for sale." The townsfolk watched from porches and windows as he led her to his horse. "Name's Coulter," he said, helping her up. "You got a name, miss?" She hesitated, as if her name had been taken from her long ago. "Evelyn," she finally whispered. "Evelyn Grace," he nodded once. "Well, Evelyn Grace, let's get you far away from this place." They rode out toward the horizon, where the land stretched wide and free. The setting sun painted the sky in streaks of crimson and gold, as if the heavens themselves wanted to wash away what had happened. Evelyn leaned weakly against him, her head resting against his shoulder, the rhythm of the horse's gallop steady as a heartbeat. "Why did they want to sell me?" she asked after a while, her voice trembling with shame and fear. Coulter's grip on the reins tightened. "Sometimes," he said, eyes fixed ahead, "the world's full of men who forget others are human. You got caught in their greed. But that ends now." Night fell, and they made camp beneath a sky crowded with stars. Coulter built a small fire and handed her a blanket from his saddlebag. She sat close to the warmth, her hands trembling as she tried to make sense of everything. "You risked your life," she said softly. For someone you don't even know. He looked into the fire, its reflection dancing in his eyes. Maybe, he said after a moment, but sometimes you don't need to know someone to know they deserve a chance. Silence fell between them, not heavy, but peaceful. The sound of crickets and the crackle of the fire filled the night. Evelyn looked at him, this stranger who had turned her fate around with 5 simple words, and something inside her began to heal. As dawn broke, painting the desert in rose and gold, Evelyn stood taller. The weakness had left her eyes, replaced by a quiet strength. Coulter watched her, tipping his hat. "You got a long road ahead," he said, "but you ain't walking it alone anymore." She smiled faintly, the first true smile in years. "Then maybe I can start over," she said. "Maybe I can live again," he nodded. "That's the plan, ma'am." They rode into the sunrise, 2 souls pulled from the wreckage of cruelty, bound now by something pure and rare, mercy. And as the wind carried their silhouettes across the plains, Coulter's words seemed to linger in the air. She's not for sale. Not her freedom, not her heart, not her worth. If this story touched your heart, remind yourself that kindness and courage can still rewrite even the harshest fates. Subscribe to the channel for more powerful cowboy love stories of redemption, hope, and second chances. Your support helps bring more tales like this to life. Stories that remind us what real humanity means.